Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Radical Racing Challenge. We've got week one of season one of the 22 series. It's still 2021, but we're slightly ahead and definitely have a good excuse for some good racing. Joining me in the commentating booth, I've got the wonderful Sim Fitzpatrick commentating with me, and Samuli Kumo manning the cameras for us and the broadcasting software. We are visiting Hungaroring for this first round of the championship. Points have been reset. Everyone is ready to get going and will be joining the qualifying soon. Sam, any familiar faces that you're seeing from last season or people that we need to watch out for?
Well, I will just say very quickly, it's very nice to have yourself back, Johan, because I've said this many times in the past. Whenever I comment, this will be my 5th season commentating on this, and everyone always ditches me. And I do one season, and then they think, nah, can't deal with Sam for another season. So you are a very familiar face and very welcome as well. So it's nice to have you back, and it's nice to get back into the season. And well, back to really what you were meaning with your question. There are many familiar faces, but as we always see with the new season, we get some new faces as well. But this man, Greg Seitz, who lost out on the title last season in a close manner, won 5 out of 12 strength of field races, but he still just fell short in the end. He is the car number 1. He is returning to these strength of field races. We've also got Johannes Hesterman back, Dylan Freckleton, Aldous Putaklis, Kyriakopoulos, Friedrich Studnicka, Kundalas, all returning to these strength of field races, drivers who we are very familiar with. So it's nice to see them back, but plenty of new guys as well in this 23 car field.
Yeah, I saw a few of them practicing. I know Candelas was practicing just before the race. I saw Greg Seitz setting some blisteringly fast laps during the week, looking at some of the iRacing stats. And it is set up to be quite the spectacle of a season. We had a really good one last season. So good that I decided to actually stay on with the commentating, as you said, and it's wonderful to be back. And then I also picked up the series to race in it. Not as good as these guys, but it is a wonderful car to race in. The Hungaroring is actually a pretty nice track to race in this car. Not too many overtaking opportunities, but it is very aero dependent, and I think it really makes this car interesting to drive around on the limit around this track.
Yeah, I mean, I say it every time we come here, I think every car works well around Hungaroring. You have Formula 1 races around here, and whilst it is a bit of a cramped circuit for those cars, it still has some pretty exciting races often. And of course, MX-5s very much feel at home here. You've got enough twisty turns, and of course, these radicals as well are really good. So yeah, should be a really good round of championship. First time that the official series has visited here, so expect maybe a bit of a golf in paces. It's all fit set up, so there's no learnings to do on that front, but it is a very complex, very tricky circuit, and I'm sure a few of these drivers have got only an hour or two, maybe even less than that, of experience on this car track combination, as the second times are coming in, and these are the ones that count much faster on the second time than on the first time, particularly around this fairly long circuit. And it's Studnicka who is currently at the top. Seitz though still to complete his lap. Birchtold in 3rd position. He is down. You'll see those names grey out on the timing screen on the left. Barson and Burfeldt in 7th and 8th. Let's see what Gurgly Barros can do. Seitz also just crossing the line at the moment, as Barros, Seitz not good enough for pole. Barros does move up into 3rd position, so a little bit of a surprise. I really expected Seitz on pole, but it seems, at the moment at least, like Studnicka's done enough to take it.
Yeah, so it's a pretty solid grid for the start. So Sam, I'm going to ask that you take it away. I'm having some technical difficulties on my side. And just take us through that grid at the start.
That is absolutely fine. Freckleton just putting in a letter. He goes up into 6th position, so excellent work there from Dylan Freckleton. Still got a couple more drivers. In fact, got a lot of drivers who haven't set times yet. A few of them due to picking up 1Xs. I think Johannes Hesterman, Eduardo Ortega Ruiz, and also Jordan Crawford made mistakes on their laps, but there is still this man Mateusz Stockbake and the new driver to the series, car number 8. So the Scandinavian driver might be able to make his way up. He currently goes 12th, but he does have one more lap to put in. Bad news is he's not got time to do it. 8 minutes is this session, and once that 8 minutes is up, that is it. You can't just complete the lap that you start. You have got to get it set within the 8-minute time. So these guys are on their last lap at the moment. They will not be able to start and finish a lap in time. Salguero, if he can just put in an eligible lap here, he'll storm up through the order. He's 23rd at the moment, it's the car number 23. But that one was invalidated as well, and so he stays 23rd. If he just set an eligible lap time, he would have gone up to 17th, so I imagine he'll be kicking himself for that one. Seems like pretty much everyone's back into the pits then, so that is quite a surprise. A good third of the field, all having to, all having their laps invalidated. Thanks to everyone who has tuned in, and let us know in the YouTube chat who you are supporting for this race. We love to have the fan clubs out in support. Let us know who you are following, and yeah, we might even be able to show them on screen a couple of times in the races. The just 10 seconds left of the 8-minute qualifying. Johan, have you got your problem sorted at all?
Yeah, I've got it sorted. I'm back in the swing of things for the season, and I think all around people are struggling a little bit. I know that turn 3 is a very difficult turn on cold tires on qualifying if you're trying to push it. So I think it might be that some people were just struggling. So as we said there, out in front, Marek Studnicka, then followed closely by Greg Seitz, Gregory Barros, Fabio Berchtold, Medema, Freckleton, Friedrich, Kundelis in position 8, Kirokopoulos, Barson, Burfeld, Stockbeck, and then behind them, we've got Kajak, Tolerico, Chino, Kother, Putiklis, Hesterman, Mick Lord, Ruiz, Crawford, Niedergert, and Salguero. I'll get better during the season with these names.
Well, I'm clapping. I'm not sure if you can hear that, because that was a good effort for round 1 of the championship. A lot of complex names, so thanks guys for that. We really appreciate it up in the commentary box, but yeah, we will improve as the season goes on.
Yeah, so we've got a very long run, or relatively long run for these cars up to turn 1. I definitely hope we're not going to go bowling like Valtteri Bottas decided to do during the F1 season. But I did see a bit of that happen during the week, so cold tires, cold brakes, and one hell of a concertina effect at the end of the straight. It's going to be interesting, and it's going to be a challenge to stay safe during that part of the race.
Yeah, it's going to be really tricky to keep it all well mannered heading into turn 1. Plenty of time for Seitz to get the better launch and to pull ahead, and these cars are tricky to get off the line, so this grid order could really change significantly. Maybe even Barros and Berchtold could lead heading out turn 1.
Yeah, and Seitz has a very, very nice line there on the inside. So 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights out, and that is a pretty good launch from everyone out in front. Studnicka is finding himself a bit far on the outside. Very great start for Greg Seitz there. He's going to find himself on the inside, but there we've got Barros looking for opportunity. Is he going to shoot up the inside of Studnicka? No, he isn't, so he stays in 3rd place, and we have one of the drivers flickering out of existence, so that's going to upset a few of the drivers there, but everyone getting through cleanly. Studnicka claiming the position out in front again, so Seitz again in 2nd place, and then Barros there in 3rd. So through turn 3 they go. No major collisions just yet. There in the background you can see some drivers just weaving all over the place. Everyone very cautious on this first lap on the cold tires, and through turn number 5 we go. So now up to the chicane. This is going to be the first tricky bit. The cold tires really going to make people struggle, and this is a very good opportunity for them to pick up time, but everyone just deciding to pull behind one another. Not really the opportunity for overtaking right now unless someone makes a mistake. So during the... Sorry, Tan?
I was just going to say, like, really strong start from most of the drivers. Interesting that Seitz wasn't able to quite get past Studnicka but did have to just settle in behind, maybe being confident we can get him later on, as I think Studnika just running a little bit wider through the third final corner. Burfelt dropping down a bit, also Crawford and Talorico having a problem. He has dropped way down and actually has towed back to the pits. A couple of great starts for a few of the drivers. Fudrick up 3 places, Stockbake up 4 places, and yeah, also Peterfest up a few places. Here comes Sites, 3 tenths of a second behind. He's looking to take that race.
Yeah, so this initial phase of the race, you kind of just want to settle into your position. They had the background, Stockbeck and Frickleton having one hell of a battle, and now seem to have settled a little bit going into turn number 2, but it's still, you can see everyone's still tipping on their tiptoes around the circuit. It's only after lap 3 or 4 where you really start getting that confidence in the tires and where you can really lean on the car. But until then, you really have to pick your moments.
That's Reese spinning to the inside of the circuit. Problem for the 16th place man, or now 16th place man. I think he might drop behind Nigert as well. Also, we saw just before that was it was Feckleton, apologies, who ran wide at turn 2, lost a couple of places, it looked like, to Kuntelis and Marcel Feckleton, now down 4 places from his race start. Seemingly, a bit of a breakaway pack. Well, Studnika's been able to break away. He's now 8 tenths of a second behind. I don't know if there was a mistake from Sites. He looked really strong on the first lap at Sites, but struggling to keep up on this lap 2. Barros and Fudrick very much staying with him, and then a bit of a gap back to Medema. And the struggling Birchtold currently, he's down 2 places from his race start, and he's now got Stokebake, who actually gained 5 places from his race start. So he'd very much back the number 8 to move past the 11th placing.
Yeah, that's one hell of a start there for Stokebake. Birchtold now coming under pressure here. He really has to be mindful of what he does through the next few corners. If you can keep the car ahead of turn 1 and 2, it's a bit difficult to find the space to overtake someone. So it's really crucial that you're fast in this first part of the lap and also the last part. But he's kept hold of his position quite nicely. Stokebake now.
I think he was able to make that move heading into turn 1. So Birchtold down to 7th, and now he's got Kundelis looking to get past. Kundelis with an underwhelming qualifying. It's not the first time we've said that about him. Arturas will be the first to admit qualifying is not a strong point. But of course, did the classic Josh Cam, Arturas Condes, 3 times in a row, 2 seasons in a row. They finished 1st and 2nd at the Nordschleife in that order. Still yet to win a race with these strength of field events is Kundelis. And I don't think today he's going to break that duck, but I think he might at least be able to get 7th and get past Birchtold quite soon.
Yeah, it's going to be crucial to now start finding that pace. Tires are warmed up, so everyone's ready to go. Some very high I ratings in that front of the pack. Stokebake being, Barros actually being the lowest of the first 6. 4.1k I rating, that's pretty high. Explains the clean start that we got from everyone here, but some interesting I ratings if you look a bit lower down the pack. Some sub 2Ks, and they seem to be holding up during the race.
Yeah, I'm half surprised that we've got some sub 2k drivers in the field. Quite a broad range, but as we have got Freckleton trying to move past Barson. So he lost his pace at this corner a few laps ago, but he's got it back again. He got that one stopped very nicely. He tries to open up turn 3, which is just about cat's out, I guess, in these cars, and then it's fine into 4. Yeah, a little bit of a variance tonight, and the other 2 splits with, of course, lower I ratings, and there's such an accessible car for lower I-rated cars. Of course, it is a free car on the iRacing service. Was made free a couple of years ago by iRacing, and since then participation has shot up. Believe it or not, we struggled to used to get official series races at all in this car. Now we've got 60 odd drivers signing up for most of the strength of field races, which is really great. So of course, if you are new to iRacing, do make sure you give this vehicle a chance.
Yeah, it's a pretty superb car if you want to get into the kind of the prototype stream of racing. And if you really want to get serious about the car, I am going to caveat to one of our sponsors, Virtual Racing School. So they help you improve your on-track performance. They've got 50 different data packs for road and oval racing, set up so that you can use track guides, and that all gets bundled together with their data analysis software, so you can compare lap times and kind of your approaches and your different lines. And they're also throwing a bit of coaching there that, of course, you have to pay for yourself, but that they do offer for you as well. So thank you to Virtual Racing School.
Thank you to them, as all contacts. And that was Kyriakopoulos colliding with Kajak. And has Kajak got damage now? He's certainly very squirmy. Wanted to get a replay of what happened that turn one. Seemed like Kajak was a long way off the track, tried to rejoin, as now Kyriakopoulos will move past his course. So I think Kajak has got damage after that. He is in the, at least on my screen, it's a lime green car, and yet losing it by himself, runs wide. And when he tries to rejoin, he makes contact with Kyriakopoulos.
Yeah, that's a bit unfortunate, but that is kind of the difficult thing with this circuit. It's so easy to get in someone's way when you have a spin, or when you run wide or lose any kind of speed. I know of a few very bad accidents previously during the week from someone just spinning out in front of someone on track. Kajak keeping ahead of Kyriakopoulos here, so doing well to keep ahead here on the final few corners. We'll see if he's able to come back at him.
Yeah, I thought Kyriakopoulos had got that move done into turn 4 just before he changed to the replay, but seemingly Kajak was able to bend him off, so excellent work there, and it doesn't seem like that damage, which I thought may have been terminal at the time, doesn't seem to be too bad. A great race so far for the veteran, the Swiss driver Kyriakopoulos. Probably done more of these strength of field races than anyone else, Kyriakopoulos, as Kundelis is getting past Birchhold. Now this is taking him a little bit of a while, but he's got it done eventually, and that was in good time as well, because Freckleton was catching up to the pair then. So Kundelis up into 7th position, 1 place up from his starting place, and he's now got 1.5 seconds to catch up to Stockbake and Medema.
Yeah, and we're now nearing almost we're starting to get close to the halfway mark of the race. I know the tyres do drop off slightly, ever so slightly, at lap 11, or in that lap 11, lap 12 space. So now is kind of the optimal time to really make the best of your tyres if you can, unless you want to strike under lower grip conditions. But if you are fast in this car, this is the time to shine. Out in front, Greg Seitz slightly closing down the gap between himself and Studnicka, keeping it under 1 second. And that's going to be a fight for the end. But at the moment,
we've got Stockbake just spinning round, and I think that's going to be Kundelis straight past him. So Stockbake just looks away as that one happened, and then saw him pretty much stationary coming through the penultimate corner. So dreadful mistake there. He was trying to get past Medema, and you can see the amount of time he lost on that last lap, best part of 2.5 seconds right there. And he's straight away back up to speed, will not have any damage as Freckleton with the look to the inside on Birchtold there. Wasn't quite able to move past.
Yeah, I do apologize. I'm lagging slightly behind you guys, so I'm not exactly sure what's happening here, but the racing so far has been very respectful, very clean. It's kind of the thing that you're always afraid for in the start of the season, where you've got these new drivers coming in, and you've had a full season of drivers knowing exactly what it's like to race against one another, and then a fresh new face. It's almost like throwing, if you've got someone that's very keen on making a name for himself or herself, it's almost like throwing a Max Verstappen into the mix. And that can complicate things, but the drivers have been very respectful to one another as far as things have gone along.
Yeah, and Stockbake being able to think being able to get back past then Candelas. Right, there's Freckleton again. He is extremely close to the back of Birchtold. Clearly faster Freckleton that last lap. Actually gained by about 7/10 now, to be fair. Birchtold was in some traffic, but it does certainly seem like the UK drivers, Barcelos, have tried to take an alternative line through that final corner. There is some turbulent air in these cars. It's not too significant, but honestly, I mean, you could be pushing a chopping trolley around that final corner and you'd pick up some understeer, I imagine, following another, because it is that long. It's just the worst kind of pace, really loading on the outside tyres. And so, yeah, trying to take that alternative line is a good strategy. Work for Freckleton that time round, but he's looking to the inside. This is where he likes to pull off moves, and now he's pulled off a contact because that is spinning round Birchtold, and Freckleton loses the positions anyway to Barson and Puticles. That's the second time he's had issues actually down that corner. Freckleton earlier on, he slipped and slid and just went wide in the end. But this time he very much made contact to Birchtold, who drops down to 13th place. To get a replay maybe from Freckleton's perspective on that one, because it seemed like he locked up the tyres and went straight on. So we see what exactly happened. So he's a long way back here, is Freckleton, and maybe a bit surprised how early Birchtold turned in, and by the time he turned in, it was too late. So there's no penalties, this is just an official series event, but still a little bit of contact being made, and yeah, we'll continue on their way. Freckleton losing out anyway, passed on, and Puticles up into 8th and 9th respectively.
Yeah, it's getting quite interesting out in front, I think. That I still hope I'm watching the same race as you guys, but Sainz now half a second away from Stupnica, so he's starting to find a bit of pace on track. He's starting to figure out where he can really push the car a bit further, and it's going to be a bit of a challenge for him to get that by the end of the race, but we might have a battle on our hands near the end.
Yeah, he is starting to close in a bit. Yeah, 10th and a half quicker that last time round was Sainz, but it's when you get to this type of region that is really tricky to make an overtake and to really get any closer, because that turbulent air just carries on to heap on, and the jolt effect is certainly a thing in this car, but it's not particularly effective, and so certainly from this distance back you're going to be losing a lot more time than what you are getting. A quick shout out to SDK Gaming, one of the sponsors for this series. We use SDK Gaming to sync up our cameras for our live timing and for our overlay. And you can see just by that positions graph on the timing tower on the left, just one of the thousands, it must be thousands, certainly hundreds of options you can do on SDK Gaming. Some fantastic graphics, and you can get all sorts of templates for different series, as we've got Puticles trying to move past, also Kunda is going past Stock Bake further up, but let's see if Puticles can pull off this one. Nearly contact between the two of these drivers, and this is really going to allow Freckleton to get involved just behind. He's gaining leaps and bounds there, as we've got a spinner just ahead. That Stock Bake, who's I think hit the wall. He was battling with Kundalis, and that will immediately promote these guys up one position each. As still this battle is not over. Puticles was ahead coming onto the pit straight, but Barcelon's going to go the long way around. He'll turn into the inside for turn 2, but Puticles gets a good enough launch, and he is able to keep his car fully ahead. However, he's left the door a bit open heading into turn 2, and Freckleton's tried to go down the inside again, and that was nearly disaster for the second time in 3 laps for Dylan Freckleton, because we were millimetres away from a 3-wide situation.
That's that was a very, very close call there.
Oh, Stock Bake. Oh, he blew the engine. Gosh. Well, he already had damage, so I wonder if perhaps I wonder if maybe that damage caused the engine to overheat. Shame for him. He was storming through the order earlier on. Wasn't a great qualifying for him, but he was up 5 places at one point, was Stock Bake, and yeah, unfortunately that is curtains for him. Felipe Massa style, if anyone is old enough. I'm sure there are plenty of people old enough to remember that one, of course, in dramatic circumstances. 4 laps to go in this one, unlike the 3 laps to go on that fateful day, as Nico is still leading by 4.5 tenths. Sights, this is a pretty good distance back, and yeah, he is getting still closer and closer.
He's getting a very, very strong draft there. You can see almost 2 tenths gain down the front straight. And now it's going to become a bit tricky. As you said, you've got that error wash on top of your car, and this, for the rest of the track, is going to be difficult to follow close by. So you can see the sides kind of trying to take a bit of a wider line and get out of that corner, that second corner faster, so you can optimize this this kind of mini straight that you've got. It's got a few kinks, but it's still pretty darn quick. The blind turn number 4 and now into turn number 5, kind of just riding on the brakes, keeping the car just gripped up onto the throttle, and now into turn 6, into the chicane. There's a good opportunity for him to gain some time. See, he's just cutting that chicane as much as he did, and 4 tenths between them, so he's keeping that car nice and close. Now heading up. Sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, it's tricky to stay this close around this part of the circuit. He was 4 tenths of a second behind coming out of the final corner on the last lap. This time, he's only 3 tenths of a second behind, but he's got to try to stay close around these next couple of corners. And these are 2 of the worst corners to have to follow around because they're so long. And the car's going to be understeering anyway. And there you see the gap just got to 4 tenths, but you know, just needs to try to stay close. You can see he's taking a very tight line, just trying to get out of the tracks of the car ahead, but it's still really just understeering out of the corner. It wasn't a fantastic exit for Sights, but here comes the slipstream. In fact, this is the one point in the lap where you're glad to be so close to the car behind, but yeah, it's not nearly enough, and he's not within passing range.
Yeah, almost looked like he got it off track there. It ran very wide on exit. Almost looks like Studnicka was slowing down there for a second. It almost had a kind of a Saudi Arabia Grand Prix moment there with Studnicka slowing down and Sainz kind of picking where you had to go. But still 4 tenths between the 2 of them. So they are keeping their distance. It's a bit tricky if you've got a car that's a bit too slow in front of you, and you get held up at the apex, especially at these long sweeping corners where you need to keep that speed up. So hard battle there for Sainz. Studnicka doing his best to keep Sainz at bay. And that's going to be one battle all the way to the end.
Bit of a mistake, I think, for Studnicka through the chicane. And he's not been a very good lap forward. He's fortunate that he can't overtake on this part of the track. He can maybe overtake into this right-hander. It's not always like this track configuration. Used to be a bit different. Used to kind of slant to the right, kind of cut this that 90-degree corner. Probably the most forgettable F1 track change in the last 20 years. I reckon. I think anyone remembers how it used to be. But it did used to be marginally different to that. So Studnicka this time is 0.35, so pretty much identical gap to what he had on the last lap. So as the rules of physics have changed in the iRacing world, should have a big enough cushion once again on the brakes into turn 1.
Yeah, he's been doing very well, just keeping Sainz behind on the passing zones, and then making sure that he gains a little bit of confidence through that middle sector. You can make your mistakes in that middle sector and stay ahead. So fortunately for him, that's where they did kind of crop up. But just look at that, 2 tenths between the 2 front leaders, then to Barros, that's a 4-second gap from the start, and then Barros, Friedrich and Medina kind of close together, and then the next driver, Candelas, into the 12 seconds. So that is spreading out quite a bit. You don't see that those drafting trains that we had in the previous season.
No, yeah, it really seems to be a particularly tricky track to follow this one, where I say the few trains that we have got, I just can't overtake. It's not necessarily them gaining advantage as they're all over the curve. Barson is into the wall. Freckleton moves past, and Barson might have, yeah, I think he's got steering damage after that one. Big shame for the car number 13. He was having a fun race, an action-packed race. He was right on the tail of Puterclis, looking to maybe pull off a move right at the end. but that has not been how it's played out, and it's another retiree we've had. Well, that is the fourth one of this race, as for the final time into turn 1 we head. He is close to this time sight. It's only 0.31. You can see how he gained 3/100ths of a second. Will he go for the dive? This time he had a look at it, maybe trying to put Studnicka off. But I can't ever feel like that turn 1 was his big opportunity, because Studnicka turns in super early for turn 2, and it seems to really cover off any attempt at move. And then once you get past this first sector, the overtaking opportunities are all but gone. An excellent drive from Studnicka. He's done enough, and it should just be a case of keeping it on the black stuff to win this first round of the season.
Almost seems like Studnicka is driving it as a double apex corner instead of just one large sweeping corner. You can see the same approach here in turn 5. And it just allows you to get on the throttle that much quicker, but it is something that you need to have a good hand at. Sainz definitely not leading up, just keeping there on the rear of Studnicka and getting a bunch of sand thrown up in his face. Unfortunately not really getting something for his troubles.
And Benton Sites has dropped back a little bit in comparison to previous laps, but also just losing time to Friedrich. That gap's going to be fairly close across the line, but just 2 more corners for him to survive now. This one is a bit of a big braking area, but he can track extend really light sights. Don't think it's going to happen, and Studnicka, who took pole position and who ended up on lap 1, is just meters away from the checkered flag.
It's been one hell of a drive, so we'll see how this ends. I never want to call it before the last corner. You can see Sights just trying to carry as much speed as he can, but that finish line is quite close to the end, and that's going to be it for the top 3 finishers. So that's Studnicka, Sights, Barros, and then we've got Friedrich, Madima.
Ooh, problem for Kajak. He's suddenly dropped down the order. But he's got back going. He's just lost and Kirikopoulos has got past Freckleton. What's happened to Freckleton at the line? Oh man, Dylan Freckleton with an absolutely crazy race. He got damage. So what on earth happened to Freckleton right at the close? Dropped behind Kirikopoulos and Birchtold. Kirikopoulos ended up in 8th place. And now we've got another problem. Oh, it's Kajak again. And that car is barely a vehicle anymore because he's got so much damage. He does just beat Neidergertz. Just by 1/10 of a second, crawling across the line, and you can see how he feels about that one. You're not meant to do that. Hitting a gyro post race. Kajak finishes in 15th, but yeah, that was pretty crazy.
I just want to quickly take a bit of time. So massive shout out to 2 of our sponsors, SDK Gaming, that does this overlay for us. So you can use them to add a virtual live HUD to iRacing. Show timing towers, enhance relative boxes, mini-maps, fuel calculators, and more. You can stream to Twitch with one of the most complete overlays on iRacing. You can also broadcast your league like we're doing now with the normal strength of field races. And SDK kind of syncs your commentary teams and does the cameras kind of synced up with your broadcaster for you. You can also use it to adjust team strategy on the fly with some of the most accurate live timing on iRacing. Also, big thanks to Apex Racing Academy. They provide 29 data packs, setups, track guides, and these are of course integrated with the VRS. And then the big thing, weekly group coaching sessions for some popular series and some extra things. So massive thanks to them. And then Sam, yeah, what do you think about how the results turned out? So very, very impressive finish there for Studnicka right there at the end. Keeping that win right straight off the bat.
Yeah, and it was those first few corners which ended up being the decisive factor. I thought Sights had got it on that run to turn 1. You know, he was alongside, but he was perhaps a little bit cautious. I think maybe polite. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. But I think him almost leaving Studnicka room just allowed Merrick to keep that lead, and then after that, just so tricky to overtake at this Hungaroring circuit. And the car number 4 was able to hold on. He beat Sights by 0.3 of a second. Gurgly Barros was in 3rd place, beating out Andres Friedrich, although it was getting close near the end of the race. Medema was in a very strong 5th place. Kundelis was in 6th. And then it was Putaklis. Kirikopoulos somehow was 8th. He really struggled in the early stages, but he was able to move back up into 8th place by the end. Fabio Birchtold had a little bit of a tricky race. He ended up in 9th. Then Dylan Freckleton, he had a mare, honestly. I don't know how he still got a top 10, honestly. Klaus Burfelt was in 11th. Then it was Johannes Hesterman, Eduardo Ruiz, Jordan Crawford, Wolf Neidegert, Alistair Cother, Ruben Salguero, Francesco Cusquino, Marcus Kajak with a post-race penalty then, because he was 15th, but he must have got too many incidents and got a penalty. Craig Barson was 2 laps down. Matej Stockbake, they were having a vacant battle, those two, was 6 laps down. Mick Lord and Martin Halarico, the remaining drivers, as hopefully we'll get some interviews with drivers. We haven't got any at the moment. I would be very interested to see, however, Sam, if we get a replay of what happened to Freckleton on the last lap, because I think we just missed that one. It'd be really cool to see, because he did lose 2 places. And I'm not sure how much you saw of Freckleton's race, Johan, but I think he was involved in pretty much all the incidents. How he, once again, I said it before, I don't know how he finished in the top 10, but had good pace to still get a decent result.
Yeah, it's sometimes if your race just starts going south, it starts going south very quickly. And if this track is not one of your favorites, it's also going to kind of put you at a bit of a disadvantage when you get into incidents like that. So just look at what's in there.
So Freckleton's already had the oh, he was letting him pass. He was letting Birchtold pass, so he even made that contact with Birchtold earlier on in the race. And I assume he was just slowing down to let him pass on the line. So that was very generous to him. And then also, I was curious to see what happened to Kajak. So this is his, this is the spin on lap 13. So this is with 1.5 laps to go. Then you see he dents the rear corner, so that's going to make the car horrible to drive. A bit of an unsafe rejoin as well, like he did earlier on in the race as well. And tough race for the 15.
That's such a tricky corner. You're kind of trail braking all the way in, so your brakes are so heavily loaded. And if you get that braking zone just a bit too late and you kind of panic and get on the brakes pretty hard, that's exactly what happens to you. Of course, your tires are completely cooked after that, and we saw that on the rejoin. So a bit of a rough end to his race there for Kajak, but definitely some opportunity for him to come back and to fight back in the next round next week. So if you are one of the drivers and just watching this back afterwards, we do have an Apex Racing TV Discord that you can join to come and join us in some interviews if you want to kind of give us your view of the race. For those of you watching, I also just want to remind that if you liked this race, do leave a like or a comment on the video. And if you want to see more of the races happening that Apex Racing TV commentates on, you're welcome to subscribe, hit that bell icon so you get notifications of the races that we do. And we are also present on social media, so check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And for all of those platforms, you can just search for Apex Racing TV, and you'll see posts and announcements in regards to the various series that we do cover.
Yeah, next round of the championship, which of course once again will be will it be broadcast? I'm not sure if we are broadcasting the next round, because of course it's Christmas Eve. So people have better things to do apparently than sim race. I don't know what they could possibly be. But the next we will still talk about it, because next week, Johan, in the official series, I will be able to do some official series races. I haven't been around on my sim for about 3 months, but it is Spa, which is of course a classic circuit for these cars, and one which is going to be a lot easier to overtake than what we had tonight. Of course, you've actually got some straights to get the toe, and it will be a bit more action packed, I think.
Yeah, Spa is always a fun one. The draft, as we've previously said in last season, the draft isn't as strong as it used to be, but thankfully Spa kind of just opens everything up. You've got that massive camel straight, and then the rest of the lap, there's quite a few opportunities for you to get ahead of your opponents. So where Hungaroring was kind of a contest to see kind of who can lap the quickest and then pull that through to qualifying. I think Spa is going to be much more racing action the next time around.
Yeah, it should be good, and the rest of the rounds are really, really strong this season as well, because we've got Donington and the national layout. Congratulations! I think everyone on the sim racing world is waking up. Waking up. It's you know, similar to the revolutions of history days gone by. They are waking up to the realization that the national circuit at Donington is a lot better than the international circuit, and now the national circuit is the only one being used. And it's wonderful because the international, the two hairpins are dreadful. So it's fantastic that they are using the national layouts. Okayama, which I always think is great. It's up there with, it's a bit like a Hungaroring. Everything is good around Okayama. Interlagos will be fun. Mosport will be very tricky to overtake. That's always the most tricky to overtake circuit. Really in any official series races. Just no big braking areas at the end of the long straights. Watkins Glen with the new updated Watkins Glen, of course, that would be great to see that in action. Suzuka, best track in the world. Hockenheim, Alton Park on the island layout. That'll be the first time the official series has visited the island layout. We have visited the international layouts with various chicanes included. Then Barber Motorsports Park and obviously the Nordschleife to round out the season, as is the case every season in this championship. I have just quickly glanced over them, Johan, but any which stand out to you? We've got Spa, Donington, Okayama, Interlagos, Mosport, Watkins Glen, Suzuka, Hockenheim, Alton Park, Barber, and Nordschleife. Which of them are you kind of looking forward to?
So Okayama, we were there quite recently, and to me, of course, it's one of my favorite tracks. But I think for the radicals, it's also a very, very good track for racing. You've got that hairpin at the end of the back straight, so good opportunity for overtaking. Lots of elevation changes, especially there through the revolver, so it makes things very interesting. Interlagos also one of my favorite tracks. That's kind of from my Skip Barber days, but I don't know how the cars are going to react down the straight. Then Mosport, I kind of disagree with you. I found it to be quite the enjoyable circuit. You've got that, I'm not exactly sure which turns it are, but the turns you've got before the back straight, that kind of
Moss.
double, Moss, yeah, that double apex, well, it's two corners together, but you kind of treat it as a double apex corner, and that can catch so many drivers out. So it's a good kind of hot lapping circuit. And then one that we're probably not going to see too many people participate, but I was in Barber Motorsports Park recently with the LMP2, and it's a very interesting circuit. It's there's definitely some good overtaking opportunities, but there's so many elevation changes. You're kind of leaning on the traction control of the LMP2 all the way through, and you need to be absolutely careful with your exits. But that might be a very interesting circuit. We might see a thin field and some kind of breakout drivers coming through there if the usual drivers are not going to choose to participate. So I'm actually quite curious to see what's going to happen in that week 11.
I think that's a good shout. Some good drive circuit. I mean, I think Mosport's fantastic circuit to drive. I overtake. I honestly think if probably Belle Isle's got more overtaking than Mosport. It's a weird one because it doesn't on paper look that tricky to overtake. Once you get there, I think it's just the kind of concertina effects from the exit of Moss Corner, and then the fact that there's no braking heading into the fast right-hander at the end of the back straight. You can't really overtake into turn one. It's a very weird one. So qualifying will be essential for that circuit, I'm sure. And I think a very good pick with Barber. I think that will be a lot of fun. Very underrated circuit is Barber. We've visited it in a couple of Apex Racing League series, and the reception has been mixed, I think. But I think once you get into it, it is a lot of fun. That penultimate corner, the long right-hander, not necessarily the most fun, but will really be stressing that front left tyre out quite a bit. So yeah, that is the calendar coming up for the season. Of course, we'll be broadcasting the vast majority of races, and of course, if you are on iRacing, you should definitely check out the series. Big setup, 3 car, so just give it a spin and yeah, see what it's like. I think particularly Spa next week will be a fantastic circuit to give this car a chance. No interviews, unfortunately, Johan, so I think it might be time to wrap up.
Yeah, I've got one last thing for you. So at Apex, we've actually got a special thing. I'm also just going to go through the races that we've got coming up. So very important one we've got tomorrow at Saturday, 9:30 p.m. UTC. We've got one of our broadcasters, Marco Barbanera, has his last broadcast. I think he's done over, what was it, 900 broadcasts. He's been doing everything. Very stand-up guy, and he's going to have his last race there, so it's going to be a good watch. It's Formula 3, it's at Road America. Definitely an interesting race. Then also on Saturday we've got the Formula 3 Championship. Monday is going to be XSLR NASCAR 1987 series. Then Wednesday is going to be Ray Esports Racing League. I think that's with MX5s. So that will be the last racing for the year, and then we kick off January the 5th with some more Ray Esports Racing League. So definitely subscribe if you want to keep an eye on those things, and we will see you in the future.